Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 23. Yes, it's Sunday. Day 23. Got my dates and days confused yesterday because that's what happens when you record these things ahead of time, right? You get kind of confused. What day is it supposed to air? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? Is it Wednesday? I don't know. So, day 23. Hope you're having a great Sunday morning here or afternoon or evening, wherever you're from. We are counting down our favorite rock guitar teams of all time. 31 days of October, 31 of our favorite teams, two or more players that work really well together, either two great lead players or maybe one's a killer lead guitarist, the other's a great rhythm player, whatever the combination. There might even be three of them, right? So this particular one probably sits near the top of the list. And if I was going to rank these, which I am not, I'm just kind of haphazardly doing them. These are my favorites, but no particular order. If I was going to put, near the top, they're a top three easily. Could be number two, could be number one any given day of the week. That's how great these two guys were together. And this particular band did not start off as a two-guitar band. It started off as a one-guitar band, a power trio from Ireland. And the original lineup was Phil Lynott, Eric Bell, and Brian Downey, Thin Lizzy. Of course, Eric Bell left a few years after they started, after a couple of albums, and they decided to bring in not one but two players to replace Eric Bell. Brian Robertson, who is a Scot, and Scott Gorham, an American, right? Why not? Sure. The first album is Nightlife, right? That's the first album where you get these two guys together. And yes, the working togetherness, right? The collaboration between these two guitar players starting to make a little bit of a difference in the sound of Thin Lizzy here, but not fully. Here, this album is a little bit more laid back, not quite as rocking as some of the albums they would do afterwards. They're starting to do a little bit of that, the twin guitar harmony thing, right? That we talk about a lot on this channel, which by this time, in 1974, you've already had Wishbone Ash doing it for a number of years. The Allman Brothers, of course, a couple of the bands here and there. But here, these two guys are like, all right, we've got to kind of come up with something a little bit unique because we've got these great melodic songs that Phil is writing, and what can we do to enhance those songs? She Knows is on here, title track, Still in Love with You, absolutely terrific. You got Showdown, Sha La 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 La, good stuff on here. But it was really with the Fighting album, which came after it, that these two guys, it finally clicked. And they're like, yeah, we can kind of make like the main melody lines with our guitar harmonies, kind of weaving around each other, playing with octaves and all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden you have this distinct sound that was so Thin Lizzy. And so again, taking stuff that Wishbone Ash and the Allmans were doing before them, and now doing it in a different way in kind of like a harder rock context, and boom, before you know it, in their wake, all these other bands trying to do something similar. Rosalie is on here, Suicide, Wild One, Fighting My Way Back, King's Revenge, Silver Dollar, Freedom Song, for crying out loud, Ballad of a Hard Man. I mean, all these really, really strong tracks, these kind of like, good melodic, bluesy, poppy, hard rock songs with these twin guitars that are just unmistakable. And both of these guys, really, really great lead players. Not only did they create really good riffs and melodic textures and passages, but man, their solos were just incredible. Tasty and to the point, never overly excessive. Robertson was probably the more explosive of the two, where I think Gorham was maybe a little bit more melodic, but both of them extremely melodic, and they just work so well together. And of course, the big album, right, for them was Jailbreak. And, remember the first time you ever heard, if you didn't know Thin Lizzy at all, remember the first time that you heard The Boys Are Back in Town, and you hear those lead guitar lines kind of snaking around each other and weaving around each other and married together and separating, coming back. It's like, whoa, that's really, really cool, right? Of course, you got the title track, Jailbreak, Romeo and the Lonely Girl, Warriors, terrific. How about a cowboy song? That, to me, I always, when someone asks me, well, can you kind of explain, like, the sound of these two guys in Thin Lizzy? What's that Thin Lizzy sound? Go listen to Cowboy Song. That, to me, is got it to a T. Of course, you got Emerald on here, creating thunderous riffs together, and the weaving lines, and then the explosive Robertson solo. Ah, so good. So good. And they continued it on Johnny the Fox, which some days is my favorite Thin Lizzy album. I generally go back and forth between this album, Jailbreak, Fighting, and oftentimes another one I'm going to talk about in a minute, because Johnny the Fox is great. There's a lot of funkiness to this album. Johnny's great, Rocky Borderline. You got Don't Believe a Word on here, man. When these guys solo, just so beautiful. Fool's Gold, terrific song. Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. Great groove-laden, funky rocker. Massacre, so heavy. Boogie Woogie Dance. I mean, just when these guys riff, they riff hard, right? And then you got Phil's great vocals and his amazing bass playing. Brian Downey's expert drumming. Such a great band. And then, of course, the ultimate live statement from Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous, which has, doesn't have every single great song they did prior to this coming out, but it's got all the really, really good ones. Man, the guitar solo is great on here. The twin harmony stuff is great on here. The riffs are great. The vocals are great. It grooves. Tremendous, tremendous stuff. And then, of course, Brian Robertson gets, into a drunken fight in a bar and hurts his hand. Can't tour, pisses Phil off. He's out of the band. They do an album without him, although he kind of shows up and adds some solos here and there for the Bad Reputation album. I love this album. He's on here, but this is mostly a Scott album. And then, of course, he's out again. They tour with Brian. He's out again. Then they bring in none other than Gary Moore for the Black Rose album. And that's another, you hate to not pick one of these duos because, they're so terrific, but they just didn't have enough time together. Gorham and Moore were absolutely terrific as well. But unfortunately, this is the only full album we ever got from them. They did tour together and just absolutely amazing. But, and I'm a huge Gary Moore fan. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I don't think overall, because I think that Gary Moore is such a commanding presence, I think that Robertson and Gorham work a little bit better together. But this duo is so spectacular as well, as is the last one. And this is no disrespect to Snowy White, fine guitarist on his own. Not a huge fan of. I like the two albums. I like both of the albums he appears on, but I don't think those, Snowy and Scott made as great a guitar team as some of these other ones. No disrespect at all, because again, fine music came out of that period. I just never got the impression that Snowy was really all into that gig at all, and I think the music kind of suffers for it a little bit. I don't know, but I like those albums. Renegade and Chinatown. I'm talking about specifically, really fine albums. But then you bring John Sykes into the equation after Snowy White leaves, and this, of course, the final Thin Lizzy album, and all of a sudden you bring this young kid with lots of heavy metal pedigree, of course, from Tigers of Pantang, and he, again, was a kind of a disciple of Gary Moore, but much, much more metal in his playing, and now all of a sudden you up the ante and you bring this, young, brash, heavy metal virtuoso into the band, and he's kicking in these just face-melting guitar solos and molten riffs alongside the always very, very strong riffs and melodic solos from Scott Gorham, and now you got like a little bit of a different dynamic, right? But still really good. So while I love the duos with Gorham and Sykes and Gorham and Moore, for me it's all about Robertson and Gorham in the classic Thin Lizzy albums right here. So that is my pick for today. Scott Gorham, Brian Robertson, Thin Lizzy. Let us know what you think of these two cats in the comments below, as well as your pick for today, day 23, as we march our way to day 31. We got a week left, guys, so I have a lot more to choose from. So I've got to figure out which of the ones are going to make the cut, and then I'll probably do a little honorable mention thing at the end. So yeah. So let us know what you think and who your pick is, and visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell. We also have the links below to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page for all sorts of great Sea of Tranquility gear that you can pick up. Lots of new stuff available there, so go check it out. And we'll see you tomorrow morning with another of our favorite guitar teams of all time. to kickstart the Monday, but don't touch that dial because we've got album homework assignment, not album homework assignment, ranking the albums. We haven't done album homework assignment in quite a while. Ranking the albums is our new show on Sunday, and we've got Simon Bray and myself ranking the albums of 38 Special. So that's coming up in just a little bit. Till then, I am Pete Pardo. See you real soon. Bye-bye.